Should I watch that? Jesus. Uh,
playing, but rather things that if you don't know about them, you don't know
am
about them, or there's a chance you
so
miss them.
tired.
However, I will still include a lot of things that I would consider basic, like what is, for example, a projectile in the game, where you could run the tests to see what the results are, but now you have them in the video here, and you don't have to do this. You may notice that this video is incredibly long, and there's even a first part that you can watch after this video if you want to, so I would highly appreciate it if you could give it a like just to help it out perform a little bit better on YouTube. Note that for some of these I will refer you to the wiki, simply because this is very time sensitive. In 3, 4, 5 months it may look very different, but the wiki always gets updated, so you will have the newest information. Whenever you start the game, you are in the main menu, and there is one tab that a lot of people tend to ignore, though it's one of the most important tabs that exist, which is the Unlock tab. This lists all the unlocks that you can have in this game, except for a few that are hidden to begin with, but will later be shown. So I highly advise that you always check this out, because this
Where is? I don't know. I had a cup, paper towel. I don't know where it went. Oh, somehow I got knocked on the ground. So now I got two of them. That's cool. Okay.
answers 95% of your questions on how to do certain things. Then there's also the power up menu, and here you can buy everything to power up every single character, and it doesn't matter in which order you buy them, but keep in mind that whenever you buy something, the costs go equally up. So while it doesn't matter that you, for example, buy stuff in a certain order, it will become more expensive, so you are advised to go for the things that you value the most first. Note that the moment you refund, you get all of your money back and nothing is lost, so you're free to just buy the cheap things you can afford first, and when you then have more gold, you can just refund and buy better things, like for example a mount. There are currently 41 playable characters in Vampire Survivors,
41.
of which
Jesus.
25 are normal characters and 16 are secret characters. As of right now, you have 5 playable stages in the game, as well as 2 bonus stages, 4 challenge stages, and 1 special stage. There's one more that is hidden that you unlock with Moongolo, but I'll not spoil more about it, so just discover it for yourself. For the stage progression, it is advised that instead of first finishing Mad Forest, you go over to Inlaid Library and finish this one while also farming up gold to become stronger, since Inlaid Library is an easier stage. There are some waves that will be a lot more difficult further down the line, but there are a ton of farm waves that allow you to get all the weapons that you need. For the rest of the stages, the progression is fine, where you don't have to switch it up. Each of them have their own difficult part. On the Dairy Blend, there are some waves that are incredibly difficult to deal with, especially the final one. On Gallo Tower, it's all in all that you get less experience across the board. And on Capella, this is kind of combined, where you have more difficult waves and less experience. Talking about all the stages, the number one advice that I want to give you is stop running, instead start killing. Most people that start out playing the game panic quite easily, especially in situations where this is not required and they are super safe. So I advise you that you get used to how much HP the enemies have, how much damage your weapons deal and how they work, because else you just run away, you don't become stronger, and once the next wave spawns that is more powerful, you will die regardless. Every single stage has one or even more relics on them, but the one that you should focus on is the one on the Dairy Blend called Milky Way Map. Whenever you pause the game, you'll have a map that shows you all the relics, all the items on the stages, etc. And then you can go back to the Mad Forest, to the library, and unlock all the relics, where some of them are just cosmetics and don't help you all too much, while others will give you insane power increases. One of those relics is the so-called Random Matsu, which unlocks the Arcana in this game. Arcana are quite wild, with some of them having very wonky effects, but all in all they are super powerful and you want to make sure that you collect all of them. Once you have the map unlocked, you'll realize that every single stage has item pickups on them, and these are incredibly powerful since when you pick them up they don't replace one of those that you own, and instead they are additional ones. Now if you pick them up while you have 5 pairs of weapons, then the next one that you pick up will fill out the 6th slot, so you want to avoid that, and instead you want to pick them up when you have already 6 pairs of items, which is the maximum in this game, and then they will be added as 7th, 8th, 9th one. And one very important note, let's say for example you're stuck in a run, you need to leave, or you just wanted to unlock something very quickly. All you have to do is hit escape, go to options and click on quit. You still receive all the gold and the unlocks that you earned in this run, and this is how most people do it whenever there's a new update. They just check out in the unlock tab what they need, they quickly unlock it and then leave the game after 2 or 3 minutes. Now I will talk about game mechanics, and the first one being chest evolutions. In general, if a boss spawned at 10 minutes or later, they will always be able to evolve your weapons if you fulfill the criteria. However, this has nothing to do with when you pick up the chest. This is determined in the code what each chest will contain, as well as odds of how likely they are to be basic chests, triple chests and penta chests. There are 3 exceptions for the stages, the first one being Mad Forest. The very first chest that you can obtain there at minute 1 from the bat is an evolution chest. However, you only have a 30% chance to get this one. This chance is increased with the more luck you have. Then we have the Dairy Blend, where every single chest can evolve. That means all of those prior to 10 minutes. And on Capella it's the same story, where every single chest can evolve. Now one thing you may notice while playing is that level 20 and level 40 take an incredibly long time to level up. This has to do with the formula in the game that calculates how much experience you need to level up, and this is important for you because once you reach level 20 and 40 you know there will be a large time gap until you get more weapons, so make sure that you got the most important things prior to that, because it will take you quite some time until you reach the next level. While playing the game you may come across red gems. Red gems simply indicate that there's a lot of experience in this gem, but there's also a different game mechanic that is very important here. If there are roughly 400 to 500 gems on the screen, then to prevent lag, the game starts accumulating all the experience in one single gem, which is the furthest one away from you. Usually if you walk into one of the 4 corners you may find it. The way the game does it is that it first hoovers up all the experience that is currently still on the stage with a certain distance to you, and then in one of the 4 corners, because this is, you know, the furthest away from you, it will accumulate 1 red gem, and that is the reason why sometimes when you pick up this red gem, you level up 5, 6, 20, 40 times, while in other cases, for example when a boss dies and you pick up the red gem, it's a little bit more than usual but not that much, and the reason is that the bosses give a set amount of XP, while this accumulation red gem that I'm talking about can in theory have an endless amount depending on how long you let it accumulate. But the important note is that no experience in this game is ever lost. And now let's talk about spawn mechanics in the game. If you take roughly 50% of your screen and go out to the left side, top side, right side, pretty much all around you, this is where the enemies will spawn. And this is also where, if the enemies leave that area, they will despawn. The only exception are bosses, where if they leave this area, they will instead teleport to another side and then walk in again. However, normal enemies, if they leave this area, as I said, they will despawn and all the damage that you have done to them is wasted. One thing you should probably focus on more than you do right now is breaking the breakables on the stages. They can either be the braziers or the candelabras, and you can get coins out of them, gold bags, of which there are 2 different ones, a rosary that kills all the enemies, a so-called NFT where you breathe fire and it deals a lot of damage, an Aureologion which allows you to freeze all the enemies, a vacuum to hoover up all the experience on the entire stage, floor chickens which heal you, a gilded clover which triggers a gold fever to earn a ton of money, and a little clover which increases your luck by 10%. Some of the maps have also drops, so for example on the Bone Zone you can only receive the gold coins and the gold bags, the smaller ones, which is actually very beneficial if you want to have a gold run. Now I will talk about weapons, but I will reference a lot towards the wiki that you go there and check it out, because otherwise I'll just talk for 50 minutes about all the weapons in the game and exactly how they work. In general, the main thing you have to understand is that there are multiple weapon types. And I'm not talking about something that is in the code where one is this type and the other one is that type, but what I'm rather talking about is that some weapons are meant for the early game. So for example, Garlic and Song of Mana are amazing to early on kill the enemies and quickly level up so you can overpower them and not get overpowered instead. Then there are weapons like King Bible that are incredibly protective, however they don't have a lot of damage, so once you face enemies that don't receive knockback, you have a difficult time to deal with them, but aside from this, they are amazing to keep you alive. Certain weapons are limited to the screen, like the Rune Tracer, which just bounces within the border of your screen, and other weapons, they will leave your screen and travel into the spawn zone of the enemies, so the moment they spawn, they already get hit. For example, the Death Spiral, Hellfire, pretty much anything that leaves the screen will hit the enemies off screen. This also includes weapons like the Lightning Ring or the Thunder Loop, because they hit the enemies wherever they are, so they don't care about how far the enemies are away. I will not spoiler how every single weapon works and to which category they belong to, but I recommend that you just check them out and give every weapon a chance and try to analyze how you should use them, in what cases you should use which weapons, and especially certain combinations. Like for example, Garlic has no knockback on its own, but it reduces the knockback resistance of enemies, while the King Bible has exactly the same radius as the Garlic, so they make a perfect pair to keep you safe. Every single weapon and item in this game has a weight associated to them, which simply means this is how likely they are to appear on a level up. The way the game does it is it just bunches them all up together, rolls a random number within that range, and whatever it lands on is the weapon that you get. There are more mechanics to this, like for example how much luck you have makes it more likely that you get weapons that you already own, but all in all this is just to show you, here are the likely weapons as well as the unlikely weapons, and it shouldn't be underestimated that it can be quite difficult to get those with a lower number. A 50 can already be enough that you will never ever see this item or weapon in an entire run. Now to talk about which item you should use on which weapon, I again refer you to the wiki because the list is just ginormously long. In general, if you don't know what to pick, just take something that makes the most sense on most of the weapons that you have, instead of picking something that is only good for one singular weapon. But later on I will talk about the most powerful items in the game, so in case you're lost, don't worry about it. Another important thing to know is that every single weapon in this game has a limit to the amount that it can have on the screen at the same time. This is also per weapon. Even if you would have the same weapon multiple times, it would apply individually. But let's say for example a weapon has an amount limit of 20 and it's on the floor, lasts very long, and you hit the 20, then this would mean that you would no longer spawn additional projectiles until the old ones have disappeared. And while this doesn't matter for most
I always do this shit.
problem, then you're overpowered. Some of
I
the
forget
weapons
to
have very big
change.
issues, like take for example King Bible. If you have too much amount, then it leaves a gap in the circle around you, or something like Santa Water, where if it's too long on the floor and you want to move around, then it doesn't shoot down more Santa Water because the limit is already reached, and that means you can't
Blue Dragons.
since no more weapons.
Hi,
Every
Amethyst.
single weapon applies knockback
Amethyst,
to
what you
enemies, but
doing?
this knockback may be literally 0. This may sound a little bit weird, but this causes a staggering effect where the enemies
I'm gonna go do
if
regular
they are
blue.
attacked too many times, or you can call it stutter movement or whatever you wanna call it. This can be so extreme that not even the Reapers can move anymore. And keep in mind that the Reaper is knockback resistant, and this also applies to, for example, the Guardians, that if you have a lot of layers of Santa Water on the floor and they constantly get attacked, then they slow down heavily, and this allows
Laying
you to get away from
down.
certain enemies that may be impossible
Always
to take
laying
down, but you
down.
just slow them down and kill them. Now I'm dedicating an entire point to the best weapon in the game, Garlic. Well, the point is something else, but I already mentioned this when I talked about the different types of weapons. Garlic is one of the best weapons in the game to get going early on, since you can just mow through the enemies, ignoring them entirely since you one-shot them, and you level up like crazy. This can be a difference of reaching level 8
That's too many.
reaching level 20 at 3 minutes, and now you have way more powerful weapons. One downside is obviously that you'll be missing a weapon, but you don't need that many weapons in this game to win. It's rather more important that you choose the right weapons, and against what many people believe,
Oh, really? Then come on, man.
knockback of all the enemies that it damages continuously, so again and again, meaning it's not entirely useless in the late game, but to be fair, most enemies will not even get close enough to get hit by it. Now let's talk about items, and there is not that much to say. As I already talked about, there are items that you can pick up from the stages, and you can have them as additional items, so once you have already 6, you can get a 7th one, 8th one, and so on, depending on how many are on the stage. But what are the most powerful items in the game? In general, by far the strongest one.
I feel like I'm missing shit.
Because the 40% cooldown reduction it provides
I
is
think I'm good.
incredibly powerful. Next up we have the duplicator, which gives up to 2 additional amount that applies to pretty much almost all the weapons. There are a few exceptions, but even something like the whip will get additional slashes, so it's still good for that. Then we have the candelabra door, which provides a huge amount of bonus area, which just means you hit way more enemies and therefore get way more experience, because the faster you kill the enemies, the faster they respawn, and that means more experience. And finally, as the last one, we have spinach. Now, spinach gives 50% bonus damage, but keep in mind
I'm only a half.
of your other bonus.
Half
now I will shortly
video.
cover the evolutions in the game, and yet again, check out the wiki for more information on them, because it's a lot easier, but you have all of them in front of you right now. Most of the evolutions can... And now to trash on the weapon, this is about the pentagram. The pentagram is known to be a weird weapon that can be a lot of fun, but it erases experience as well as chests, so you quickly want to level it up, which you can do with the red gem that I explained earlier, and just max it out immediately. However, is it actually beneficial? The pentagram on its own...
Alright, ask me what you got. This game made me mad. Yeah, it made me mad too.
I'm missing WoW was just a game. I'm missing WoW was like a good game, and I played it a lot.
I miss when World of Warcraft was just a game to me. In fact, I missed when most games were just games. I was reminded of this last night while playing Quest 64, an old Nintendo 64 game. There's barely any direction, there's no objectives, and there's a ton of rooms and corridors and hallways that just lead nowhere. It annoyed me at first. I would say stuff like, why would the developers put that there if it has no purpose? Or I'd say something like, that's bad game design. But then I did some reflection. There was a day before good game design, when games weren't designed to keep you engaged, or keep your dopamine levels high, or give you constant breadcrumb rewards.
This isn't true. For example, Mortal Kombat 2 was explicitly designed for the characters to effectively aimbot you in the arcades because it would result in the higher amount of money, and the dopamine reward structure was like being min-maxed even then. So this is not true. Anyway.
There was a day when they were just games, to play without purpose just for
I
fun.
go over there.
Almost like playing pretend when you were a kid. So why did the developers put that empty hallway there? Well, because someone may just want to explore around for fun.
Yeah.
How about that? Playing a game for the fun of it. I used to feel the same way about World of Warcraft.
This is a very good point he's bringing up. Even though the arcade point isn't very good, his overall perspective is, and I completely agree with him. A lot of video games now, people focus too much on trying to finish the game rather than play the game. And I think that the process of that has made games worse. I think that the reasons for it are primarily because people have more games now, so there's a lot more competition for your time and attention. And then the other big reason for it is like YouTube and video guides and streaming that collectively increases the player's knowledge of playing games. So doing what's the meta in a game now is like the norm, rather than back in the day, that wasn't the norm.
Then they do some and sold heads in the middle.
I care about rating, I care about new content and the best talent builds and the top classes and the top specs and the next patch and the buffs and the nerfs. And
well, another reason why you care about that is because you're playing retail WoW and if you don't care about it, you're going to die, and people won't want to play with you because the raids are really hard. So a lot of older games, like you have some games that were really hard, but a lot of older games are actually pretty easy. And the reason why they're pretty easy is that they don't need to be min-maxed.
I wish I can
Creators
adjust
have
my
adapted to this
prayers.
style of thinking, making every
Put
new
this
zone
up here,
a
like-
high octane and high priority in the storyline. There's no time anymore to just relax and play.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always like this. When I first started playing World of Warcraft in 2006, I was a dwarf warrior and I had no clue what I was doing. But I didn't know.
I think this is also a bad argument. The reason why I think this is a bad argument is because if you look at the way that Classic WoW in 2019 was approached, and also if you look at the way that Season of Discovery was approached, both of those different games were approached completely from the perspective of min-maxing. So if you look at your experience playing the game in like 2006, that's not going to be accurate whenever you're judging it versus a game's quality nowadays. I think this is a completely community and player-based driven issue. And obviously, game design does make it easier to do. But at the end of the day, you know, you can never step into the same river twice. And I think that's really what happened here, more than anything. That's not his point. What that is completely his point.
one thing.
Let
I
me
loved-
listen.
But it wasn't always like this. When I first started playing World of Warcraft in 2006, I was a dwarf warrior and I had no clue
Yeah,
what I
this is just like, all I'm saying is like, this is like another nostalgia thing where it's like, yeah, of course that's the way you're going to feel because you were a kid then and the world was totally different. Like, of course.
I was doing. But I didn't know one thing. I loved being engrossed in the world. I would go into every building in Ironforge just to look around and think how cool it might be to just hang out here with friends and talk. Not questing, not leveling, not gearing, just hanging out in a cool secluded place in Ironforge talking about life. Same thing for this random building in Orgrimmar.
I remember back whenever my friends were doing that. I was out there in Arathi Highlands and I was fucking grinding. I was grinding every day. Bro, I was getting down to 20% health, having to eat after every single cat that I killed. And I was out there leveling the entire time. And you know what that came to? I got 60 in vanilla, and I got my epic mount, and most of my friends never even hit 60. So yeah, I was always a fucking no-lifer and like a min-maxer, even back then. It was just harder to do, so you didn't have as much resources for it.
I barely made it to level 20 on that first character, but I probably explored most of the entire world map, and I can still remember the awe I felt when I accidentally
Would you have more fun
stumbled
in the
into the
game?
burning
I loved
steps
it.
by
I
walking
had so much
through the
fun.
broken gate in the north of Red Ridge Mountains.
It was
and
all worth
suddenly
it.
I arrived in fire and brimstone. Seeing the blackened, smoky sky and the lava pouring from the mountains was amazing, and seeing the creatures and dragons that roamed the land made me excited to eventually come back and quest here, which I never did. Oops. But I do still remember that feeling, the wonder and the awe at every zone.
I forgot to
at every
pop my
turn.
combat.
And now I'm so familiar with every zone that I gotta admit I'm pretty killer at WoW GeoGuessr. So that begs the question, is this just a nostalgia thing? And I don't think so, as Classic WoW and Season of Discovery in particular still have their moments of invoking wonder in me more so than modern WoW. And I think
It's
what it-
both. I think he does bring up a good point, and if you look at the way that original Classic WoW zones are designed, and I think Dragonflight kind of went a little bit back to this, which was a good thing, is that I think Legion was the pinnacle of it being the opposite, where a lot of areas in Classic WoW don't really need to exist, and they're just there for creating a sense of perspective in the game and making the game feel like a world. And if you compare that to like Legion or BFA, where every single object in every single area in the game has 6 different quests and 2 different collectibles associated with it, it feels like the entire game is more of a theme park and you're not really playing a authentic, organic game, and you're not really in a world.
comes down to is the idea of a game being just that.
It's very
a
cramped,
game.
yes.
The process of not needing to follow an ideology of good game design, or retention practices, or meaningful progression systems, or balance.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think that everybody cares about that, and I think they did even in Classic WoW. The idea that Classic WoW didn't have any of those focuses is crazy. If you listen to even the developers or the designers talk about Classic WoW, like John Statz or Kevin Jordan, like they said that they designed it with a lot of those things in mind. It's just that the philosophies and the psychology that they used was less obvious because they were better game designers. That's really the difference. I think this is the same thing as, like, remember what we were talking about with, like, good CGI, where, like, you don't notice good CGI because it's supposed to be invisible. Well, I don't think you notice good game design because it's also supposed to be invisible.
Many empty buildings in each capital city, I feel the echoes of players and guilds that came before and probably hung out within their walls chatting in-game rather than using something like Discord to do voice chat. And even beyond...
But that's just, again, like, that is something that is a product of its time. Like, the reason why people didn't use Discord in 2006 is because Discord didn't exist. If we had Discord in 2006, everybody would have been using Discord back then.
In the capital cities, there are empty vistas in areas of the game that some may consider useless or poorly designed that were really just there to add flavor for those who wanted it. And even endgame raids in classic WoW like Molten Core didn't feel as immediately pressing to complete as soon as you could. I mean, there wasn't always a world-ending catastrophe just on the other side if you didn't hurry up and progress through the raid. In modern WoW, there is a greater emphasis on the critical path and on progression for the sake of story, and in a sense, I get it. You have to keep the players in...
This is a good point that he's making. I agree with this. I think that right now, like, retail WoW forces you too much towards the end game, and it's too much of a forced experience.
That's all they want is end game. You're not in game, then there's nothing to do.
Constantly have high stakes. Unfortunately, Blizzard already crossed the border of highest stakes of all time with the Shadowlands expansion and the universe-ending Jailer. I mean, how can you create another engaging story without putting the universe at stake again? But that's just the point for me. I don't want another universe-ending, world-ending, or even continent-ending storyline.
People say this, but I don't think that it's entirely true. And a good example of it is Dragonflight. A lot of the Dragonflight storylines aren't of the same scope and scale that previous expansions were, and I don't think people like those either. After thinking back on the games, and, like, for example, other similar games like Lost Ark or like Final Fantasy XIV, I think the real problem is that these stories just simply aren't told well. Like, for example, at the end of Legion, whenever we literally imprison a god who is larger than an entire world that stabs a gigantic sword, intergalactic sword, into the planet before he gets sucked into a pantheon with his other gods, that was fucking awesome. That was insanely cool. And it was also really cool to have something small like Edwin Van Cleef and the Defias Brotherhood. So I don't think that it's the scale of the story that's bad. It's the way that it's told.
I want a lived-in world with smaller, more meaningful bite-sized stories that are fun to explore. I don't want a fresh new continent where it feels like nobody's ever been there before. I want to feel as
Slayer level 84,
not the champion of Azeroth. I want to walk around.
That's a good point, and I actually really don't like the champion of Azeroth stuff either. I also don't think that this
I need to see what these
story
drakes
Final
are.
Fantasy proves that it doesn't. But I think that it creates an RP for your character. I think a lot of people play role-playing games and they do RP, but they're not RPing 10 out of 10. It's not like I am, you know, like fucking Orc Slayer and, you know, I come from Duratar. It's more like I'm kind of going to act a little bit different whenever I play this game, and there's a degree of escapism that I go into whenever I play the game. And I think that's really what happens with a lot of people. And I think that every time that the game defines your character's actions and tells you what your character is, it directly contradicts what a person's own headcanon is for their own design and for their own character.
Explore the corners of each zone and building.
Like, for example, you can't just be a, what do you call it? You can't just be a vagrant whenever every single NPC refers to you as champion. You see what I'm saying?
Of Azeroth. I want to walk around and explore the corners of each zone and building, not for a reward or a secret, but for the fun of it. But the gaming landscape has changed. We don't need to talk using in-game chat anymore.
True.
Discord has a great interface, a bunch of communities, and it's easier than ever to voice chat with your friends. Back in the day, having a TeamSpeak or Vent server was a big deal, and having good enough internet...
And there's another component to this too, is that one of the reasons why people use secondary chat services is because they don't want to get banned. Like, if I say fuck or something like that, or shit, in Warcraft, I can get banned in the game for that. Well, why would I want to use that chat service? Like, think about it from like just a simple service perspective. Why would I want to use a service that if I say something like this, I get banned. No shit. Well, like what I'm saying is that logically, then wouldn't you want to use another service that you don't risk your account to use? Of course you would. Any logical person would.
That at the same time as playing World of Warcraft was an even bigger deal. Stereotypically
I'm
nowadays,
thinking about going to go do that
these
quest.
micro-fueled, energy drink chugging, RGB lighting enthralled adult children. And to pander to that stereotype, we need flashy games that pack a punch and better pack one quick before your captive audience chooses one of a million other games promising the same thing. But there's another catch. They're all promising the same thing. How awesome would it be to finally have a World of Warcraft expansion or experience with a slower pace, a chiller vibe, and some good old fun exploration? And no, I'm not talking about the cozy game genre, which, side note, it's probably growing fast because more people are wanting that type of vibe, but I don't want WoW to be a farming sim or an idle game. I would want the upcoming WoW expansions to feel like classic WoW and Season of Discovery in their pacing. Slowed down, less high stakes, less flashy lights, less progression systems, with more corners to explore, whether they're empty or not.
I think that they did that with Dragonflight. Am I crazy to think that that was kind of what the goal was with Dragonflight? From like a story perspective, Dragonflight wasn't really compelling to me at all. Like, I'm going to be honest, it really wasn't. It was kind of boring. But I don't think that it wasn't... It's not because of the scale of the story. It's about the way the story's told. And like the characters, I didn't give a shit about the characters. It was just lame.
I don't have a proposed solution, and I'm not saying by any means I hate World of Warcraft now or that I'm quitting retail. No, none of that. I just wanted to throw my hat and my feelings into the ring, and I'm sure some of you out there would feel the same. I still like to just sit on the cliffs of Thunderbluff and look out on Mulgore. I still like to hear the music of Elwyn Forest and Stormwind as I'm strolling through. And sometimes, even as a heroic raider in Dragonflight, I still like to RP walk. And I hope that I'm not alone in saying I miss when games were games and we would play just for fun. Thanks for watching and take care.
So there's a lot to unpack here, and I think that he brings up a lot of good points, but I think that a lot of the other points that he's talking about are things that are self-imposed and self-created. So, for example, I miss whenever games were games. There's nothing that's stopping you from going to an RP server and joining an RP guild that struggles on normal mode. You don't want to do that because those people are bad at the game and they're going to waste your time. So really it's about playing with people that you have the same goals as and that have the same way of looking at things. So, for example, I talked about this a lot with Dragon's Dogma 1, where I only really began to truly enjoy the game whenever I was no longer trying to finish the game as fast as possible for like stream content, and I could just sit back and take in the story and go explore different areas. Now, keep in mind also that was an old game, but I felt the same way in a lot of ways with Dragon's Dogma 2 as well. I think that a lot of people play games in order to finish games because that's the way that games are provided now. There's like a billion games coming out all the time, and so you want to finish this game so you can get on to the next game. And I do think that's a bad mentality, and that's something that he's definitely right about.
It's
Another
also
thing that I
people
think
trying to
he's
get
right about is,
content.
especially with Retail WoW, the difficulty level of Retail WoW, in a lot of cases, necessitates min-maxing. So if you had somebody who was underperforming a little bit in Molten Core, it didn't really matter that much because the raid was really easy, and you had 40 people. So you could have 5 people that didn't even have their monitor turned on. It didn't matter because it was an easy raid, and there weren't really that many points of failure other than like the Baron Geddon bomb or a couple of other things. But whenever you actually have a very challenging raid that requires people to play at a high level, that's whenever you see min-maxing happen even more. Like, if you go back and you look at a lot of the first kills for bosses, as bosses got harder, you started seeing more class stacking. Like, for example, Spine of Deathwing, the first kill. Or, I mean, Nefarian was like a bug in, like, a Cataclysm. But you see a lot of classes, like, for example, Cho'Gall was killed by Horde first because of how many AoE silences and AoE stuns they had. Because of a mechanic that Cho'Gall had, I think it was called Worship, it was only on Heroic. And then they would all stack up and just like instantly use that and interrupt everybody. So the harder that you make a game and the harder that you punish people for playing the game wrong, the harder people will try to not get punished. And so what happened is that as WoW got harder and harder and harder, players became necessitated to add those extra levels of complexity into the game. They got
All right.
necessitated to make it more gatekeeping, because now if somebody makes a mistake, let's say somebody is let's say for like classic WoW, you need at least a 3 out of 10 player in order for a raid to be successful. And in Season of Discovery, you need, let's say, a 4 or a 5 out of 10 player in order for a raid to be successful. Well, if you're doing a heroic raid in Dragonflight, you probably need a 6 or a 7. Well, there's a lot less 6s and 7s. So it's harder to get up to that level, and it's harder to be able to beat the game that way. Especially whenever you have smaller raid sizes, because smaller raid sizes make it to where each individual
Okay, now I already don't want to
more. It's just logical, right? You have
a
40
master
people,
quest and more.
like let's say you have 20 people, it's a lot easier. So each person is what's that? 5% of the is 5% of the total raid's contribution. But whenever you have 5 people, each person is 20% of the contribution. So whenever you had a 40-man raid, they're 2.5%. So if this guy fucks off or doesn't do anything right, well, it doesn't really matter because you can have somebody else make up for it. I feel like every healer.
Damn it. That look like a pain. I mean, it might be okay to kill. Oh, Drake bones. And it's a superior variant. No, it seems like they want you to use magic against this motherfucker. It's only 20. It's not like you fight them, you want to use magic.
should always be able to battle res and salvage fights. There's a lot of little min-max things that should happen in WoW, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I think meta chasing and career pursuing through gaming killed gaming and that's it. But I don't think that's true because you're only talking about it to other people that are on these social media websites that hyperanalyze and talk about video games all day. There's a lot of people that are Starfield dads. There are dads right now that are playing Starfield and having a blast making a new ship. There are dads who are playing, you know, Dragon's Dogma 2 and they're like, oh, wow, look at that, it's a chimera, holy shit. What the hell? Yeah, Diablo 4. There's people right now that are playing Diablo 4. Oh, man. I can't wait for Season 4. This is going to be crazy. Maybe by then I'll be able to get 100 if I just have enough time to play. And that's it. So you have a lot of their minds. Yeah, they're playing on a controller. And I think the problem is not that... It's like we've gone from you can't step in the same river twice to you can't step in the same river once. Because by stepping in the river, you fundamentally change it. And people get into this, and they keep fixating around, you know, getting, you know, min-maxed and trying to be as efficient as possible. And the process of that, and the outcome of that, is that they can't... God damn! Holy sh**! What the f***? Oh my... 236,000 recent reviews. Oh my fuck, that is insane. Democracy at its finest. Yeah, this is crazy, man. Look at this. I refunded my game as well. Didn't leave a review though. Let me see how the reviews are doing. So yeah, the Helldivers 2 situation, I guess, is it's still getting worse. Overwhelmingly, only 15% of the last 236,000 reviews are positive. So, yeah, that's pretty fucking bad, guys. It's like a 30,000 to 200,000 ratio. It's a bad ratio, by the way. And, so, yeah, all reviews are mixed. And so, it's actually now below half are positive at this point with Helldivers 2. So, they have effectively undone... I don't know how long this game has been out for. What, February? They've undone months worth of goodwill and memes in a matter of days. That is incredible, man. Like, you don't see fuck-ups like this every day. Like, this is the kind of fuck-up that we're going to be talking about in 5 or 10 years, right? Do you remember whenever Helldivers did that one thing that was really bad? And people were like, whoa, man, we remember that was bad. That was real bad. So it's going to be a new, this is going to be a new point on the graph that people use and refer back to, right? Remember back, like, this is going to be, like, what are some other, like, really big fuck-ups? Like, whenever Blizzard made people use their real names on the forums, Xbox requiring the webcam to always be connected to the internet, Diablo 4 stash tabs, maybe, Unity, Cyberpunk... Like, I mean, this is really, like, this is crazy how bad this is. I don't think we respect how much of a fuck-up this is. It's crazy. Overwhelmingly negative reviews. Oh, there's my review. Looks like a lot of people like that one. That's nice. I hope that people agree. The truth is that a lot of people, I think, are fucking tired of this. I was so busy having fun, I forgot about corporate greed for a moment. Yeah, there you go. Check the Arrowhead CEO tweets. I'm going to look at it, okay, guys? We've got a lot of time, and we're going to go through everything today, and so that's going to be the plan. Well, I don't even have an account or anything. That's crazy. Yeah, I have 101 things. Damn. To be honest, your review made me and a lot of other people do it. You're very, very rude. Yeah, I mean, like, I thought that my review was as fair as it could have been, right? At least I think so. Are we striking this game? Yeah, I would say you should. I would say you should give a negative review. If you agree, obviously, like, don't just, if you don't care about this, don't just be like, oh, well, Asmon told me to give a negative review. But if this is something you care about and you agree with what I'm saying, then yeah, I think the best way to protest it is to give a negative review and to refund if possible. Like, that is the right thing to do. Absolutely. People have been engagement farming against people upset about Stellar Blade and Helldivers. It's crazy. Well, there's always shit eaters that are looking to rationalize eating shit. So it makes sense, honestly. Okay, so the CEO's been down in the trenches, which is always respectable, I would say. I think it is always respectable. Let's also, somebody mentioned this in chat right now. I'm going to pull it up. Let's go ahead and take a look at Helldivers 2, and let's see if this has affected the player numbers yet. It has, but not really. I mean, I mean, I would assume Saturday and Sunday. I think that next week it's going to be lower. Here's the reason why I think that it's lower. Helldivers is 100% a dad game. It is. This is a game for 30 to 50-year-old guys that grew up loving Starship Troopers. That means that
That's
all
why I
of
want to
those
play it.
dudes have jobs. So I bet it goes up way more. Like, look at this, for example. You see, like, this graph? See how Sunday was so much higher? That's because that's the days that they have off of work, right? Because they're old enough to have, like, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday salary jobs at this point. And so Saturday and Sunday not being higher, bro, that means a lot more than you think it does. And so whenever we go to Monday and Tuesday next week, I bet it's going to be way fucking lower than it is right here. That's what I think is going to happen. And you can even compare it to the way it was right here. So yeah, that's what I think. Anyway, so the player base has gone down, but it's not enough yet. I'm still only extrapolating. It's not enough to prove a causal effect, right? Let's see here. Go back to there. Okay, accidentally clicked the wrong button. And I think, yeah, this is pretty much... Hopefully I go through all of them. I might miss a couple, but you guys can just let me know. And so, yes. Anyway, so we have the CEO... He wakes up, I guess today, woke up at 4 in the morning, and I think this really says a lot, right? Where does this guy live? Is he in America? No, he's in Sweden? Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, I was thinking if he was in America, bro, he's waking up at 4 a.m. I was about to say, well, fuck. He was too down bad. But, okay, yeah, that's not so bad then. I was about to say... okay, so waking up to the sunshine of yesterday, replaced with the dreary drizzle and shivering winds, made me reflect on how I spend my time, those rare few moments whenever everything is perfect. Yet rain is essential to growth, and what changes spring into summer, I will just wait for the sunshine to return. So what he's saying is, I sure hope this shit, I really hope this shit blows over. That is literally what he's saying, and I'm gonna be honest, if I was him, I would be thinking the exact same fucking thing. Like, let's be honest. He's saying, fuck you. No, I don't think he is. I really don't. I think that he's doing his best. So yeah, anyway, I'll read some more of these. I mean, it's a stressful situation. So let's go back over to here. Oh, this is always very reassuring. Somebody asked, PlayStation Network isn't supported by my country. What do I do? The CEO of the company responds, I don't know. Fuck, I mean... What? What do you want me to...
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, what the hell? What is this? Jesus Christ, yeah, at least he's honest. Yeah, he says, I don't know, like, what the hell is this? Name the people behind this decision. He can't do that. So, yeah, obviously... You know, he's doing a bit of falling on his sword. And why'd you delete the other post? I didn't proofread. Yeah, I do that a lot. Whenever it's like on the little circle of like submitting the tweet and I realize I used the wrong word. That happens to me. And so there's also another one. Sony's mishandling Helldivers 2. Shouldn't stop it from being Game of the Year. And then this is more of a conversation. Okay, yeah. All right. So this is a person who's saying, even worse, the CEO admitted that he knew for a long time about this and was still happy to take money from players who would not be able to play the game after a short while. I appreciate this honesty. It's still not less of a scam and a fraud. I don't think that's true, and I'm trying to think about why it wouldn't be true. So, they said this, but the only real argumentation that I think is strong enough to prove that it is a scam is the fact that Sony themselves said that it wouldn't require it. Because Sony should always overrule the developer because they are the publisher and they decide the way the game is distributed. So even if he did say that, I still don't think that he was scamming Because, again, Sony has the final say, and Sony were the ones who said that it wouldn't happen because it was on Sony's website. So anyway, this is, and I'll read below. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm just going off on you know, my own opinion. So this is referring to something else, right? Oh, I guess I'll read the whole thing just for all the context. Is this the moment to tweet? What? You guys don't have phones? On a more serious note, we're taking solutions with PlayStation, especially for non-PSN countries. Your voice has been heard, and I am doing everything I can to speak for the community, but I don't have the final say. Okay, so that, I think, definitely says a pretty good amount right there. And who the fuck is making these decisions? Sony, obviously. It's obviously Sony, isn't it? A lawyer said Sony might end up with a class action lawsuit against them. Yes, and I think that it would be justified. I do. Did you see the latest post from Grums? Yeah, I did. Let me get to that. Anyway, so think of all the Warhammer you're missing out on. Let's feel you need. Yeah, sure. Let's see here. Why are you acting blameless? So this is him responding to this. I do have a part to play in terms of taking accountability. I am not blameless in all of this. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirement, and we didn't talk about it enough. We knew about it 6 months before launch, that it would be mandatory for online PlayStation titles. Wait a second. I thought that there were PlayStation titles that you can get right now that don't require this. Because my understanding, it was only Ghosts of Tsushima and Helldivers 2 that actually did require this. Single player? That's what I'm thinking, right? Is there an example of a multiplayer, though? No. Shit. Okay. Anything online related is PSN account linked? Okay, so this is true. All right, I just want to make sure that I understood this because, you know, you see 2 exceptions, and it's like, maybe there's 3. Seems like there's not. Okay, that's fine. At least that's a start. Anyway, we knew about this for 6 months. Wait, you knew about it for 6 months? Then why sell it to non-PlayStation countries? And then the CEO responds, we do not handle selling the game. This is accurate. This is completely accurate. Bullshit? No, it's not. Think about it. They make the game, and then they give the game to somebody else, and then the person sells the game. That's what a publisher does. That's like the definition. So, as somebody who has, I don't know, a little bit of experience now with this is accurate. The publisher is the one that handles a lot of this stuff. That's what makes sense. So yes, first Helldivers did not require this. It was a long time ago. And so things change. Anyway, so this is the same way with books. You can publish them yourself, but it's a bit cost effective. Well, I mean, so this is the reason why a lot of people don't self-publish. They don't self-publish because, there's localization that's really hard to do for like different languages. There's like relationships that need to be met. There's like different distribution channels that need to happen. It's a huge pain in the ass to do. Like there's a reason why these companies are so big. It's because they have a huge amount of resources to do this for, right? Customer service, yes, exactly. Sometimes the customer service as well. So yes, is Arrowhead both the game studio and the publisher? I'm genuinely asking. Sony is the publisher. That's why any of this is happening. Exactly. Sony makes the decision of when and where it is sold. Generally, right? I mean, every single thing is going to be individual, but in a general sense, that is the case. Marketing budgets, that is also true. And investment capital is usually true. As far as I know, maybe sometimes it's not. So, yes. Anyway, so this was referred to. Let's go back to originally what I was saying. Sorry, we kind of got derailed here. And this is going to be a repost. That's not what I said. So somebody said that he was lying, right, basically. But let's go ahead and look at the clarification. That's not what I said. I said we were asked to make the mandatory account. We were asked to make the mandatory account linking. Wait. This English isn't making sense to me. I said we were asked to make mandatory account linking 6 months before. Wait, I don't understand. This doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm sorry, but like I'm not understanding this. It makes sense? Not to me. I.e., as the game was finishing up. And on launch day, it was mandatory, as detailed in the description in the Steam page. And it was disabled a couple of hours after launch because of server issues, which was my decision. Otherwise, the game would have been unplayable for everyone. Right, okay, yeah, and he already talked about that before. We notified the community that we were suspending it temporarily, but we would reinstate it in the future. But yeah, working our asses off for 8 years, pouring blood, sweat, and tears, and worrying about if players will like our life's work is a good basis for a scam. Sorry for the rant, this is a lot. I appreciate your response. I wish to understand why you accepted money from customers from countries you knew were not able to play your game months down the line. So yeah, this is kind of like what the problem is that Sony informed them 6 months before launch to include the account linking. We were asked. There are just some sentences that just do not make logical sense to me. I don't know if this is some form of dyslexia, but whenever I read this, I don't really know what they're trying to say. I'm sorry. I'm assuming that's probably what it is, but it's just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, transforming Swedish to English in his head? Yeah, no doubt. But I'm just expressing like it's hard. He's not stupid, right? I know he's Swedish. I'm just saying I don't understand it. But that's probably what the implication is. It's just that it's hard for me to understand that intuitively. So yeah, we can talk about that for 10 more minutes, but who gives a shit? Anyway, it's very clear that Sony told them that they had to do it, right? So, up to the publishers and stores, PSN restrictions are a PSN issue. I wouldn't know why. You can't make an account in different parts of the world. And so, while trying to distance yourself from the issue, I think it's best if you stop responding right now. I think that this is one of the big problems that a lot of things on the internet have, is that people that are very vitriolic and angry usually don't know anything about the situation or the industry at all. So whenever things are explained to them in a way that makes sense in the context of the way that the business is done, they get angry about it because it doesn't make sense to them, which is fair, right? I mean, again, keep in mind, these people in a lot of cases are customers. It is not their responsibility to understand how the business works. But if you want to get aggro and you want to get mad about it, and you want to actually start addressing and approaching things from a business perspective, then you don't know what you're talking about whenever you're saying this. So yeah, the average person is retarded, end of story. Yes, that's a very good point. And so anyway, this is true with almost every publisher-developer relationship. Publishers are the ones that basically deal with everything in regards to selling the game, and developers deal with everything in regards to making the game. That's generally how it works. But of course, there's going to be some push and pull there, as with anything, right? And so you see that, and let's go back over here. Is too many dumb fucks out there? Yeah. From the people, for the people, but the people aren't? Yeah, exactly. Not anymore, but right? Yeah, sure. I mean, that's not always the case, but it usually is, at least from what I understand. And so don't handle solving game. Okay, good. And let's go back. We'll read a few more of these. I just closed down LFG's website after stress. Oh, that was something I already read. Okay, make sure I get the rest of these. And do the part to play. I read that one too. I read this one. Okay, I think I got through everything. So, did I miss any other important posts, or is that it? We'll see if Sony wants to comply. Yeah. Do I need a PSN account to play PlayStation games on PC? No, you do not need a PSN account to enjoy PlayStation Studio games on PC, but you will need a Steam account to redeem your voucher code. Some of our PlayStation Studio titles also offer incentives. No, this isn't true. Give me the link. I don't believe it. I want to see it. I want to see it myself. No games actually have the requirement at the moment to link a PSN other than Helldivers, but Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut will also have a requirement whenever it's released. Without Palstet disabling the mandatory linking hours after launch, everyone who couldn't create a PSN account would have refunded, so in a way this is 100% his fault, not Sony's. Well, I mean, it's like, and this is generally what happens, right? Where I think that you're right about that, and in a way, but at the same time, maybe they wouldn't have refunded, and I think that he did that in order to remove the server capacity. The truth is, and this is something that's very important to keep in mind, is that the people that are making these games are not wizards. This isn't Merlin. This isn't Gandalf. This isn't fucking Dumbledore that's got his, fucking Gandalf with the Palantir, like, looking into the future, seeing what's gonna happen. Like, these are just guys that make video games, and they fucked up. Like, they obviously fucked up, but I don't think that fuck up is something that was, what do you call it? That was intentional. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've got this one right here. No malicious intent. Yes, there's no malicious intent, I don't believe. No, you currently do not need one. Okay, so there it is. So, yeah, it's right here on the Sony website, word for word. There it is. And this is why I wanted to look at it and see it myself, because I've been, especially with like AI the way it is now, and like the amount of times that we've been hoodwinked. Let's be as certain as possible with this kind of stuff. Always check for the original material. This right here fucking proves it. Sony is still misleading people. They are still doing it. They are doing it at this exact moment. Look
That's
at this.
what
Right
Sony
here.
does. It's Sony.
You guys can go there right now and look at it yourself. You go to that link and you can see that you don't need the account. And they are the ones who are selling the game. Keep in mind, Arrowhead doesn't sell the game. Sony sells the game. Sony says this, and Sony's selling it to you. It's not even a miscommunication. It's the same thing. This could mean only for single-player games? How would it... No. That's not the way anything works. If you say this is a game, then all games would be... Are games single-player games, multiplayer games? They're both. So you would be right if it said single-player games, but it does not, which implies it is more broad. That's not the way it works. You don't start small and get big. You start big and get small by specifying. About Helldivers, I can't get a refund. My country has no PSN support. I can't play the game either. What the fuck am I supposed to do now? You wait for them to inevitably refund you, because that's probably what will happen, or they will have to go back on this. So, this right here, XD certain incentive if connected, aka the ability to play the game.
Been so long since I fucking fought a worm. I'm curious how this is gonna work. Alright. Don't know how this is about to work. I've never tried this weapon on a worm. But we're about to go find out.
you don't need to currently, which is true. You don't need to currently need a PSN account. When you buy a product and then they later make the product unusable, you are due for a refund. Imagine if your car had an optional OnStar, and then imagine a car maker, after owning a car for 6 months, required you subscribe to OnStar or they disable your car. Yep, there you go. And I think also it is incredibly misleading for them to do this. And this is the problem, is that, like, if you're selling something like this, and within 1 month this isn't going to be the case anymore, and it's not even stated, you're obviously misleading customers. Like, it's not even a question. And this is kind of like what the problem is that you have some people who, I think that this is some sort of like fucking, like, you know, some fucking, what's the word for it? It's like a tangent from being a debate lord. It's like they're trying to figure out some sort of legal justification for why it's okay for them to say this, because saying currently, oh, well, they're not going to apply this until a month later, so currently this is true. It's obviously fucking misleading. And it's misleading in the perspective that it makes Sony more money. And I think that one thing to keep in mind with every single thing like this, especially whenever you're dealing with a huge company like this, devil's advocate entities. Yes, I don't want to hear any devil's advocate arguments. If I hear them and I see people making them, I instantly ban them. If you don't believe what you're saying, then don't fucking say it. You're wasting everybody's time. So yes, these people are being misled. And they are being misled to the benefit of Sony. And whenever you have a situation where personal gain and coincidence converge, it is probably not a coincidence. So logically, I would assume that Sony is not stating that there could be exceptions to this, or this could change in the future, or in fact that it is changing in the future, which they have said is the case. They are not doing that because it is something that would potentially hurt sales. And I think that's disgusting, because you're lying. You're lying. And I don't like this idea of, well, I mean, they didn't really lie because they used the word and, you know, like this word is a little bit different. If you mislead people and you lead them to believe something that isn't true, or you base something off of something that you know will go away very quickly. Oh my God, who the fuck cares? Let me explain who cares. I care. Why are you here? Why are you here? If you don't care, why are you here? And you will care. Maybe not yet, but whenever this happens to your favorite game, or to your favorite service, or to your phone, your car, or something right now that we cannot conceive of, you will care. And I think deliberate, confusing, and basically misleading information is the same as lying, because the intent is the same. The intent is to mislead for gain. The intent is to mislead for profit. And whether this is a formal lie or like basically a misrepresentation, I don't think that it matters, because the intent of it is the same. Functionally, it is the same. Functionally, yes, exactly. And again, the effect of it is the same. The effect of it is that somebody purchases something on a pretense that they were led to believe by an individual who has a financial tie to the thing that they are misleading people on. Willful ignorance can be a crime. It can be, and so can negligence. Absolutely. Then 2 months later, you've been enjoying your
bet
sister, you
slaughtering these
receive mail, and
motherfuckers.
you can't use it. But the wording is important. Maybe Helldivers 2 isn't a PlayStation Studios game. I think that what proves that, and that's, again, this is kind of what I'm talking about. That's true? No, it's not, because it says play PlayStation games, and this says PlayStation Studios. So you're using two different terms. You're using PlayStation Studios and PlayStation games. And because they're referring to, assumedly the same thing, it would make sense that they are interchangeable. Oh, yeah, this disproves it even more. Yeah, this completely destroys that argument. Okay, so this is again on the official Sony website. And let's scroll down. PC frequently asked questions. Do I need a PlayStation account to play PlayStation games on PC? No. It's the exact same thing. Steam is refunding players with hundreds of hours of in-game Helldivers 2. Well, where's that? I mean, that's a quote from, where's that a quote from, right? I want to see that. I haven't heard of anybody getting a refund. So yeah, that's what Steam should do. And so yeah, because again, keep in mind, Steam also has to deal with all of these reports. They have to deal with all of these extra things. Like it will cost them more money because PlayStation fucked this up. That's the ultimate thing, right? And so Steam should not like this. It's not even a question. No refund here? Yeah, I haven't heard of a lot of people getting refunds. So somebody said that yesterday, and I was like, is this true? And then there was no evidence for it, so it's like, I bet it's probably not really true. Yeah, that kills the argument I was trying to make. Yeah, exactly. And also, like, so, and this is kind of the problem, right? Is I'm gonna pull up your thing, and I'm not like mad or anything like that, but like just listen to this. Kills the argument I was about to make. I was gonna say technically it's published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, but not Sony Studios. But if it's on Helldivers 2 page on a Sony site, then there's no excuse. See, like, this is kind of the problem that I think some people make, is they try to look at these technicalities. And so, this isn't really a one-to-one, but I'm going to give, like, kind of a parallel to where it might make a little bit more sense, at least what the essence of what I'm trying to argue is. So there's something in, like, law that's called a fiduciary relationship, and sometimes that implies that there are relationships that you have with people that you have a certain degree of trust with, that if you mislead them, even though you can be technically and legally correct, you can still be liable for misleading them because there was not the expectation of solid, hardline legal language there. This is especially true with, like, business deals.
I almost want to take the worm bones and go to the Chaos Temple. Cheese them. So I'm thinking about it, but I don't know if I want to bring Noted out there. I might just slap a full inventory and run out there. I lose an inventory, so be it. It's only worm bones.
Deals between family members and business deals between trusted people outside of business. And so this kind of goes into the same concept where I don't really care what the wording says. The wording, in my opinion, misleads people to buy the game. And whenever it does that, then people waste their money. That's where it stops. That's it. Like, if it, legally the wording doesn't matter, yes, it's not presented like a contract. Yes, exactly. The word currently does not really give them a legal out, or does it? I don't think that, and this is the problem, right, is that I don't really care about whether people sue Sony or not. I don't really give a shit about that. What I give a shit about is whether people, like, understand this and push for a change. Like, Sony, it won't matter if people sue them. Okay, wow, they have to pay $20 million in a class action lawsuit. Everybody gets $30. Who gives a shit? But the real thing that matters is what this means for other games as well, and what this means for the future. The lawsuit is kind of irrelevant, in my opinion. Or you just explained it, current means currently. But you just explained how currently means current, and you completely ignore it on the PlayStation website? Yes, I do, because it's not stated that it will change immediately within 1 month. Yes, it's obviously misleading. 100%. There's no reason... Like, if you don't tell people that, like, hey, by the way, in 1 month we're going to completely change everything, and this won't be the case, and you're going to spend $40 on a game that you can't even play in 1 month because of this, then you're misleading people. You know that you're doing this. Like, and again, this is the problem, is that it's about the intent, and the intent is malicious, and that's what I think the bottom line is. So yeah, anyway, we'll read some more comments here. Helldivers 2 has officially surpassed Overwatch 2 in the sheer amount of negative reviews. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so logically, let's go ahead and look at this. So
Fuck
out of all
Overwatch.
total reviews that
Used to
have
be a
been
good
done,
game.
there is 262,000, and 18% of them are positive. So that means that it is about 45,000 are positive, and 45 to 48,000 are positive. So that means there's about a little bit over 200,000. So yes, it has not overtaken it yet, but it probably will by tomorrow. Anyway, where's the rest of this? On phones, we know how selling the game. I think really, you know, I feel kind of bad for the developers in this situation, and it does really suck, but I think that the only thing that you can do is just... We knew there would be 6 months down the line. Yeah, so, like, this is my perspective on this. I thought, and this would be, like if I was them, and this probably isn't a good thing, but I'm just kind of, like, probably explaining what I think their reasoning is. I bet they thought that if they just waited for 6 months, that Sony wouldn't push it on them because the game was doing really well, and they would have more negotiating power. So it's basically like, okay, we're going to deal with this problem in the future, and we're not going to think about
But
it
I
right
don't
now.
with these fucking
It's
worm
doing really
bones, but
well.
I do.
Hopefully we can get them to remove it later. Now, this is obviously a bad idea, but that's what I think probably happened. That's extremely naive. Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not, right? But, you know, with a studio like theirs, they're a pretty small studio comparatively. They've never had, like, a really big breakout success like this, so they probably don't have the context, and they just probably made a bad decision. And this is also a complete assumption. I don't know what I'm talking about at all. I'm just guessing. PlayStation is now censoring all Helldivers discussion, negatively portraying Sony. Shocker. Is this actually true? Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Yes, it's true. So, it is true. Both PS5 and Sony.
Every time
subreddits.
I'm on this task, every time.
Sony ponies, yeah. This is the I don't know how. I mean, dude, it's like you must be so lucky to work in the console industry whenever you just have an army of zombies that'll defend anything that you do, even if it's stupid. It's crazy, just because, like, their identity is built around your $500 box that you sell them every 5 years. Oh my god. That's some serious professional dick eating. That's what I think. That doesn't check out. Sony was prepping sales, not Arrowhead. It was Arrowhead's last-minute decision a few hours after launch. Retailer Steam and Sony store pages would need to adjust from intended model. That's not the case. I don't know what you're saying. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, so Balls deep, not in gagging. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, basically all of these other platforms are they're shutting. Now, I think that, for example, they should allow this on the PlayStation subreddit, and they should allow it on the Sony subreddit. There is no justification for not allowing it. Let's see if I can get PS5. I'm going to pull this up and see if I can find, is there a related Sony subreddit? I guess not. Yeah. Why fans from Sony pander to Sony? Because they're invested, because they bought the console, and so they don't want to acknowledge that they might have made a bad decision with their money. That's probably the real reason. Now we can shit on Sony and Xbox? Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how this stuff has happened, man. I'm going to be totally honest. It's, you know, I mean, Sony used to be great, at least in my opinion, and now they're doing this. So, yeah. Does Japan have fewer free speech? Well, I don't think that PlayStation subreddit is being run by, I mean, like, all these people, these are all American names, right? It's not Japanese names. But who knows, right? And it seems like this is an English community, not a Japanese community. So I don't think that would really matter. But anyway, what you can see here, obviously, is that, you know, they are censoring conversations about it. It's undeniable. It's like, do you think this massive thing that has 200,000 people isn't going to, on a subreddit that has 500 active members, it's not at least going to get 1 or 2 posts about it? Come on, man. Of course it is. I think it was predatory move by Sony. They probably had this plan for a while. Not exactly with Helldivers. They were just waiting for some IP to be a huge success with this shit move, thinking that because it was such a good game, people wouldn't care as much, don't you think? I think that that's probably why, but I think there's probably a lot of other reasons too. It's not like there's one specific reason, right? You can't even post about problems with your console on PS5. You have to post them on PlayStation. Yeah, but that's a little bit different. I think that if you're expressing concern about a certain game, or you want to talk about a certain game that's on a console, it would make sense that you could post it on the console subreddit, you know? Like, I'm sorry, but that's just insane. So yeah, let's go back. We're going to look at a few more of these. PlayStation Network won't let you delete your account. Hi there. Thanks for waiting. I appreciate your patience by holding a queue. On this occasion, we'll be working with the PlayStation ID you entered. Verify your phone number. Sorry for the mistype. Thank you. I see your contact has to close this account. That's fine. I just don't want any further changes. Sorry, but we will not be able to make changes in the account closing. That's correct. At the correct moment, I will not be able to close this account. You can try to close the account in the future, but for now, due to security reason, it will not be possible to close the account. What is the security reason? I don't believe this. No, I don't believe this. I think this could easily be bullshit. So the reason why it could be bullshit is that the phone number this person gave them could be the wrong phone number, and that's why they're not able to give them any more information. I don't trust a random Redditor. I'm sorry, I don't. Yeah, I think this is bullshit. It could be either. Yeah. Because, like, so this is the thing. A lot of customer service representatives are informed not to let people, like, basically go and say, oh, well, what is the security question? Or, oh, what is the phone number then? Because then if they do that, then they just call back later on, and then they say, oh, this is the right phone number. So as soon as you give them invalid information, they immediately shut down all contact. And so yeah, it's social engineering, exactly. So I don't think there's enough data here in order for me to, you know, like, take this one seriously. Let's go back. We're going to look at the other ones. PlayStation Network isn't supported by my country. What do I do? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. Man. Baskinator at it again with another L-Tank. Well, we always knew this day would get here, and it's going about how I expected. I'm actually happy for us to be able to take action against player reports and make the game safer across the board personally. Okay. That's dumb.
I don't know, y'all. I want these bones, but this is making this take forever.
PlayStation account, but why did it need one? The game was thriving. Don't know or care. It just does. And I saw one post on Twitter that I thought was very accurate.
I want them, but man.
Corporate brain rot is removing your game from sale from nearly 200 countries instead of admitting your account system is unnecessary. Because, and this is also referring to, Helldivers 2 has been pulled from sale from 177 countries. So look at this. A lot of countries now you can no longer buy Helldivers in. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up. This is a tweet from SteamDB. This is the database that I usually use, for example, for all these charts and everything. And so is no longer purchasable in countries. It's now received 215,000 negative reviews. This package cannot be activated or purchased in specific countries. It's 121, not 177. Oh, okay. So we're getting new information. I actually, yeah, it might not be 177 countries, and it might only be 121. Guys, it's only 121 countries. So here's what's really funny about this. It's that you think about how stupid this is. That Sony is pushing this through, blocking sales from the majority of countries in the world, as far as I know. All just to make sure that people get a PlayStation Network account. Like, this is an instance of the tail wagging the dog. I don't even know if that's accurate. It's more than that. It's so outrageous. It's like, what? How does this matter so much? That's how valuable your information is? Yeah. Bad hill to die on? Yeah, exactly. Cutting off your nose to spite your face. Shooting yourself in the foot? Bro, this is like cutting off your whole leg. That's capitalistic absurdism. All this happened because some fat boomer executive wanted to have an impressive slide on his PowerPoint. Well, no, I don't think that's the reason. So this is why I think Sony is doing it. I think Sony is doing it because they know if, like, basically they have conversion metrics, right? And so they probably have conversion metrics of the amount of users that are playing Helldivers 2, and then the amount of users that go into and pay for other PlayStation games. And then they probably have existing metrics for the amount of users that have PlayStation Network accounts and how often they spend money. And the disparity between the two is probably quite large, or at least it's substantial at scale. So it was used as a justification that if we make all of these people get accounts, they will be this much more likely to spend money, and this will result in this much projected income. That's what I think is happening, and that's why I think they're doing it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Maybe there's like a perspective I'm not seeing, but like that's the most common sense thing, right? Fucking shareholders. It's bad logic. It is bad logic if you count in the context of consumer behavior, but I don't think that they understood that. It's data for shareholders, yes. They could also just want a good quarterly report. Well, here's what's also interesting. What if they still don't care because they're still making more money? And if you think about it logically, okay? So if you have, let's say, 200,000 users, and the 200,000 users have a 10% chance of spending money, and assuming it's the same amount of money, or if you have 100,000 users, and they have a 30% chance of spending money, you will make more money with 100,000 people than you will with 200,000. So if the disparity between the two is large enough, Sony will probably still sit on this and try to push it through. You see what I'm saying? They're scared of a precedent case? Yes, exactly. Sony is no stranger to making brand withdrawals. No, they're not. Yeah, did Bobby go to Sony? I guess so.
Jesus.
It's probably Steam, so they don't have to fuck around with future refunds? Yeah, maybe. Have you noticed all this happened after the Stellar Blade bullshit? Feels like too much of a coincidence. I actually think that it completely is and has nothing to do with each other. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So, yeah. Helldivers 2, they've canceled sale in... How many countries are in the world? Let's go ahead and look this up. How many? I think it's 165. I read that somewhere online today. How many countries are there? 195. I was wrong. There you go. 195. Okay, so they have canceled sale in the majority of countries in the world. That's right. over half of the countries, they are no longer selling this game to them because they need your data. Now, if that's not a good argument for privacy laws, I don't know what is. But I'm sure it will change nothing. So yeah, man, that is crazy. How do they make more money? It's not a big case for Sony. This only affects PC games. It does, but the fact that it affects them with PC games, like, there's no way that the guys at Sony aren't thinking we can make way more money by selling on PC too. Like, it just makes sense they would do that. What data do they need to sign up for a PlayStation account? I don't remember because I saw
Phone number, address,
I know
yada
that
yada.
for some people they need like where you live, like all of it. Yeah, basically like an email address. Sometimes they need apparently in the UK they need a government ID for like a specific law that's there, and then I think that they need an address, and then they also have a card on file. So having a card on file is a very important thing. So a lot of games do this, and so this is one thing that gacha games do. So gacha games do something that's called, you know, like getting your foot in the door or breaking the ice, right? And so what that means is that here's the best example that I can give. This is the best example of this practice. Blizzard gave a masterclass on it. This is this is only 570% value. Well, the other one is 800% value. The point is all the same. What they do is they ask you to spend $1. And do you know what you have to do to spend $1? You have to put in your credit card information. How much do you want to bet that you lose people? Because every website and every online retailer, including things that I have done personally, that's how I know this. Let me see if I can, I'm going to make a chart so you guys understand it. Okay. Visit website. Browsing.
This guy's probably laughing at me for picking everything up.
Putting product in cart. So in each one of these, you lose people. And you can see how this happens, right? How many of you guys have put something in your cart, and then as time goes on, maybe you're like, you get to checkout and you decide you're not going to buy it. So every retailer checks this, and they know exactly how this works. Why do you think they all have cookies? The cookies track this shit. So let's say you're starting with 1,000 people. Then now you're shopping for product. Now you're at 900. Putting the product in the cart, well, now you're only at 500. And now buying the product, you're at 150. But what if the checkout was easier if you could go to one that already had your credit card on file? It takes that 150 to a 200. You just made 50 more sales because you already had the credit card on file, and that barrier to entry does not exist. That is exactly why these companies want you to spend $1. Because $1 removes the future barrier to entry, and this also plays into another sales technique, which is a rapid sale. Making decisions, so people make logical decisions slowly and emotional decisions quickly. So the more that you can keep somebody in the emotional decision state, the better you're going to have, the better chance you're going to have on making a sale with them. So what you do is that every single second that some guy spends on your store thinking, is it a good idea for me to spend $40 on a video game helmet? Well, the probability of them thinking this is a good idea is going to go down every second that they think about it. So if you can remove the seconds that they would need in order to
Yo,
buy and put
Smokey,
in their
what's
credit
up?
card information, and you can remove those seconds, well, now you
The
only
hell
have
you
20
up to?
seconds that they have to think about it rather than a whole fucking minute. That's debatable. It is not. And it is different for
Couple
every
hours,
person,
yeah.
but this is something that is true in a general sense. Maybe you're special. Maybe you're different. But if you look at an average,
I'm just
this is
chilling.
the truth. Whenever it comes to shade...
Just chilling. Wait, I gotta get that battle pass done. It's almost, I need like 10 levels on the battle pass. I'm hoping Tuesday they have, like they always have, double battle pass experience, whatever. But just one of the things I already bought into it. You know, I need to complete it. Surprised you wasn't on Smite 2 more. I don't know. I checked it yesterday or the day before, whatever. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not done. And it ends in like 7 days. And it's the last week for it. Ends Monday or something, Tuesday. Not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. I just want to get it done. If you already paid for it, you might as well get it done. I think after lunch, I'm hopping on. They all that y'all look, I got a game to play. Everybody got married this past weekend. I don't get it. Why did everybody get married? I know personally of at least 12 weddings that happened Saturday. I don't get it. What's the deal with May? I mean, you got an estimate like how many hours? Are we talking like 3 hours, 4 hours? That way I know if I'm taking my lunch break a little earlier or later. I just don't want to go take my lunch break, then y'all be hopping on. Okay. It's 10 o'clock. So probably like 1 or 2. Okay, gotcha. Oh, fuck. A lot of times I see y'all get on and I'm just now taking my food break. I'm like, fuck. Ugh. Ugh. Crack my back. It's gonna be a lion's task.
Techniques. I know all about it. Thinking about 4 times about it, and instead they make you think about it 1 time? Exactly. Like, how many of you guys, I've had this happen, how many of you guys were gonna buy something in a video game, but they ask you to put in your card information, you don't know your number, and you have to get up to get your wallet, but you don't want to get up, so you don't buy it? That's how fat and lazy gamers are, and that's why they want to have your credit card information on file. Asman, can we talk about how all this conspiracy talk still doesn't affect your ability to create a PlayStation?
Oh, fuck.
Sure.
I'm over here wondering, like, why is it taking so long to kill these motherfuckers? I had to. I'm a dumbass. Technically, I didn't even have a weapon on.
Point. Can you just briefly summarize what your point is? So, and also, I understand that I might be going off on a few tangents here with, like, for example, like the retail shopper and everything, but hopefully you guys see how all of these things are connected, right? This is a web. And, like, all of these things put together create the situation that we're in now. And if you don't understand the web, you're only seeing one part of it, well, you're not seeing the whole thing. And you're not going to understand it as well. So yes, they are all connected. I think so. Let me go over here. I'll see what are you trying to say? Yes, there's 2 reasons everyone keeps saying about why they don't want to make an account. Okay. All right. Also, by the way, whenever you're talking about conspiracy talk, this is what's this is generally accepted knowledge in psychology that has been tried and tested over 100 years. This isn't something that, like, I just made up. Like, do you really think that this is, like, what is this? It's not much of a conspiracy if it's backed by facts. Yeah, then everything is conspiracy. Sales tactics are real. It's not a conspiracy. They are. There's a lot of really good ones, too. Somebody in chat said something very smart. I really, really like what you said. I didn't notice your name. I'm going to let Vega Boy type it out. Was it me? It was you. It was me? Yeah, it was you. Okay. One, because there's regional locked issue, and two, they said they're going to do a workaround. The other being security. They're all worried about being hacked, but if you're concerned about that on the internet, one way or another, it was be exposed. Okay, here's just what's going to happen. You're permanently banned right now from the stream, and until you sign up for the Starforge newsletter by giving us your email and your information, you're not going to get unbanned.
That's
You have
funny.
to sign up for our thing. And let
That's
us know when you do,
funny.
and then we'll unban you, okay? Sounds a little harsh, but fair. The reason why I did that, and the reason why I think that's such a good argument, is because everybody always makes arguments in the context of somebody else's, it being somebody else's problem and it not happening to them. Most people who use these arguments are saying it's not a big idea to me. This is not annoying to me. Well, okay, well...
I love Asma for that, yeah. Dude's got like 300 messages in history. He wants to argue something dumb about this. He goes, all right, fine. You're banned until you give me your email and shit on the Starforge newsletter. Because I mean, it's basically the same shit, right? You can't be on my stream unless you give me your email and shit. They got Helldivers, which is actually worse because they want the PSN. And people were showing yesterday that the PSN wants your address, your phone number, your email, your real name. So they want a lot more personal shit rather than just the email, though.
Let me do something that's annoying to you, and then we'll see how you react to it. That's the thing. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I think that is so whoever said that in chat's a fucking genius. Why else would entire corporations have marketing departments if they weren't effective at pushing predatory techniques? To the guy saying it's conspiracy. Oh, well, he can't read that anymore because he's banned.
Oh, you can read it, but you can't reply. Yeah.
Newsletter. I mean, come on, what the fuck? Yeah, I mean, it's just all you have to do is sign up for the newsletter. It's easy. So yeah, I mean, what a fucking idiot, right?
Oh, anyway, fucking love it.
Overwhelming
negative. I love it, Aslan. I
love it. Most negative reviews amongst all paid games. That is a lot. Holy shit. Helldivers 2 developers watching Sony destroy 7 years of work and critical success in one day. Another joke, Murray? There it is. Oh my fucking god. Wow. I don't even know what to say. I don't. And holy shit, is this the same company that went to court and with Microsoft for acquiring Blizzard to do this? Yeah, it is. And it's also the same company that's had more data breaches than like anybody else, man.
Uh-huh.
It's insane. Arrowhead wasn't the ones who...
They had so many data breaches that there's a bunch of people think it's not really a data breach. It's just Sony and the PlayStation Network just giving your shit away. They just claim it's a breach. So I don't fuck with them no more. I'm done with them.
Still want the game to be purchased via PSN descriptions. Pirate Software's tweet about this. Oh yeah, I saw this before. Let me go back over and make sure that I look at this. Yeah, Sony has now removed access to Helldivers 2 in every region. It can't make a PSN account. And let me go back. Yes. The last few days of watching Sony gut Helldivers 2 is a grim reminder of the pitfalls of working with a publisher. Make sure that you know what you're getting into before you sign your game away. There are good publishers out there, and we've seen them kick a lot of ass for indies. Always have a good lawyer review your contracts and have everything in writing. I hate seeing this kind of thing happen, especially with such a good game. It's been a long
Tells you. Everybody stay away from Sony. That's what it tells you.
goal of mine, either start a publishing house for indies or start working with one to the lines with goals I have. Situations like this make me want to bump that higher up in the queue. This is absolutely fucking true, and I'm gonna be honest, like, I think that this has been a big problem for a long time, and I hope that it stops. I hope that more people, and also I think that as time goes on, it will be easier for people to publish games in general, and if publishers can't add value on their own, then that's going to be it. You know, people aren't going to use them. So yeah, that's why you don't trust big companies. Well, you shouldn't trust big or small companies. I don't like the mindset, guys. I really don't like the mindset of, oh, well, we're not going to trust this company because it's very big. Or we are going to trust, because there are small companies that are also scammers. Remember Barney? You know, like, who made, like, all the classic WoW guides? Well, she got scammed out of, I think, was it 38 or something like that, $1,000 because of just one piece of shit. Literally one piece of shit scammed her. That was it. It wasn't like this is some big conspiracy with some massive company. No, there's the plushies. Yeah, it's the plushies. And so the whole idea that, like, you know, small companies are good and big companies are bad is not true. Bad companies are bad.
Everybody wants money.
That's just how it is. Whether they're big or small. The difference is all big companies are scammers. I don't know. I don't think that's true. Yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have publishing agreements with big studios and everything is fine. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. That's some companies get big because they're good. Yeah. Like, look at Amazon. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, I'm an Amazon fan. I like Amazon. And I'm not, I don't have to say that on Twitch, right? Amazon also, just in case anybody doesn't believe that, Amazon also created fake accounts to pretend to be union workers, or sorry, anti-union people, to make people not want to have unions in Amazon warehouses. So Amazon is fucked up in a lot of ways, but from a consumer perspective, I think Amazon is great. Like, if I want something delivered, I can just get it delivered. That's amazing. So yeah, Microsoft has been doing good. That's what's so stupid and weird. Microsoft came out of nowhere, and it seems like they have relatively consumer-friendly practices. What the fuck?
Looks like they've been trying.
Why?
I've been on
Why are
Microsoft for
you guys
years,
doing
and so they
this?
take care of me every time I have a problem.
Yeah, what happened? Really is, it's so weird, isn't it? Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Valve as well. Yeah, there you go. Look at Valve. Valve is a great example. So,
Was that Steam? Valve?
there you go, guys. That's the current update with Helldivers. I can really commend Pilestead for, you know, going down there and getting in the trenches and defending, you know, and also I think it's good that he's doing this because that way it's not other employees that are getting harassed. Everybody's going to be talking and thinking about him. So I think really it's one of those things that it's just so disappointing to see with a game like this, and I hope that with all of this negative attention, Sony can rethink their perspective and their decision. And what I think Sony should do is I think that they should still try to incentivize you to have a PlayStation account. And before you get mad, listen to what I'm saying. I don't think it should be a requirement, but I think it would be great if Helldivers 2 gave you something cool, or maybe gave you an advancement for something cool if you had a link to the account. That's what they should have done the whole time. Just give you a cool skin. Give you like a PlayStation cloak or something. Probably not. I feel like that would hurt immersion, but something similar to that. Maybe just with PlayStation colors. That's all they would need to do. They don't need to force people into doing it, heavy-hand it. People will do it if the rewards are there. How about that?
Right?
Well, then don't do it. That's my advice. Don't do it. And I think the problem isn't the fact that it's there. The problem is the fact is that it's mandatory. And literally what Microsoft did for Minecraft, yes, it's smart. Make it optional that if you do it, you get a little bonus. You get something special, like a little cosmetic or something.
A lot of games do that.
Simple. It's so simple. Like Blizzard did this with authenticators and WoW. Right here.
Yeah.
That's my authenticator right there. I've had it ever since, I think this is Cataclysm or Wrath. I don't remember.
You got what, bank space or backspace? Or...
extra bag slots. And a lot of people did it. And it was
I did it.
But it was not mandatory. So it's crazy that like there's so many use cases of this and instances of it being successful, and somehow they still can't figure it out. So yeah, that's what my opinions are. That's what I think. I think this is a great thing. It's a great thing if they do that. But
well, y'all was talking about Blizzard and them saying they want to help protect your account, yada yada. I don't know. I haven't heard of Blizzard getting hacked. They probably have. I don't know. Let's see. So it's like one time. This is only telling us about two. I think the 2011, is that the one when they got me? There's a 2014, massive. Here they're saying the 2011 one was massive. 2014 was massive. (2023) So 2014, 2011, 2023. I don't even know how many more we can find with them. It's all the time, and it's millions of people's information, fucking password, emails, phone numbers, addresses. So there's a big difference there.
right now, it's hard for me to say if Sony is going to do this or not. Yeah, you're playing Mop Remix? I don't know. I haven't decided. I blame Todd Howard. Yeah, true. If you use the authenticator to get extra backspaces, yeah. Sony's kind of stupid. I think Sony is looking at it from the wrong perspective. Because, like, I have accounts on these other websites, like Path of Exile, etc., and add value to having a Sony PlayStation account. One of the reasons why, like, so this is the problem, is that a lot of people view, like, how to solve a problem that customers have, and the way that you solve that problem is removing what the problem that the customer says is, right? Like, for example, this is too expensive. The solution to this is too expensive is not always to make it cheaper. It is to sometimes, and in my opinion, and a lot of times, increase the value of the product so the user feels like they are spending more money on it in a way that makes sense. So yes, provide more value. So yes, there are two different ways that you can make somebody do something. You can make it easier to do, or you can make it give more value. And I don't know why Sony just doesn't give more value. Just give more value and then things will be fucking fine. Sony does what Nintendo don't? Yeah, exactly. They're not stupid. They know what their revenue will be. What they did not anticipate is the pushback. Well, then they're stupid. That's my argument. But yeah, I know that you're right. I think that on a book level, you are right. And I bet on a book level, Sony would have made more money, but the pushback was so big that they probably won't now. They've done it before for other games like Spider-Man Remastered. There's an option to link your account for an in-game reward. Yeah, and it's super easy. I don't know why they don't do that. Yeah, someone at Sony should have expected this, honestly. Well, I will say that in their defense, we have never seen such a concerted effort from the gaming community against something like this that seemingly is so small. And I've got to say, and I am so glad to be wrong about this. I was worried that people were just going to eat it and just like let it happen. And that still could maybe happen in the long term. But I am so, what's the word for it? Inspired. I'm so inspired by the fact that people were so adamant and vocal about pushing back against this. This is awesome. I haven't seen this kind of energy in the gaming community for such a long time. This is great. You guys see what I'm saying? Yeah, gamers unironically rising up, man. It's because the game is so goal-oriented. Sony trains soldiers for their own demise. Yeah. I'm all tired as fuck from idiots ruining our games for the last decade. Yeah, true, man. Absolutely. They should run 2 different servers, one through a PlayStation network, one without. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know what they're going to have to do, but, you know, I hope that Helldivers 2 players, I hope they hold the line, because that's the only thing. If you want the game to be better, sometimes you have to not play it, right? It's tough love. So, yeah, to be honest, Sony is the best camera manufacturer. I agree. This is a Sony A7i, or AI3 or something like that. I've had it for like 6 years, 7 years, and I've been using it. It's been great, and I haven't ever really had problems with it either. Canon's better? Yeah, for me, Sony I think is great, but you know, I would agree. But this isn't a camera. So yeah. Any thoughts? And so yeah, this is just ridiculous. Oh, King Theoden, yes. Bernard Hill, the guy who played King Theoden, passed away. Very, very fucking sad.
My bad. I was trying to find some info.
You know, Lord of the Rings were my favorite movies growing up, and they still are. They're still my favorite movies. They are, in my opinion, the greatest movies ever made, and I fucking love them, so this is very sad to see. It was. Yeah. Rohan will answer. It was so good, wasn't it? It was so fucking good. Yeah, movies did it. What was this here? Movies did the book justice? Yeah, they sure did. They absolutely did. Only actor to be on 2 movies with 11 Oscars? Jesus. Yeah, there it is. Helldivers CEO dropped a new tweet. Let me see if I can find it. It deeply saddens me that Helldivers game is also being review bombed due to the recent controversy. What's next? Review bombing, Magicka, and Gauntlet as well. Other PlayStation titles? I was like... I felt like a fucking boomer because I thought, like, Gauntlet, isn't that a Midway game? Like, wait a minute. Like, yeah, because I don't remember being PlayStation whenever I was... Yeah, it's Chuck E. Cheese back in the day. It wasn't... What do you mean? Clueless? Yeah, what the hell is this? And so, Beyond I'll take? Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is really what I would say to this. It does suck. They made a remake? Yeah, they made a remake for, like, PlayStation 2 or 3.
Can't find what I'm looking for.
Shitty. And that was the last Gauntlet game that was made. It was, like, somewhere around, like, 2007, somewhere around there. Yeah, it was horrible. And then, like, no, it was after Dark Legacy. It was one game after Dark Legacy, then it died. He's saying he's bummed that the first game getting review bombed because of the second's controversy. Oh, I didn't read that. Helldivers game is also being review bombed due to the recent Helldivers 2 controversy. Yeah, that sucks. No, actually, you know what? No, that totally makes sense. Yeah. That sucks. That makes sense then? Yeah, actually, it makes total sense, and I think it's totally fair. He's saying that it sucks, like, for him, that his other game that he made that has nothing to do with Helldivers 2, well, it does, but, like, it's not really connected to, like, any drama, is also getting review bombed just as, like, friendly fire, basically. Or collateral damage, better term. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, it sucks, man. It really does. Unironically sucks. I think that's totally fair for him to say that.
306.
Just let Sony in, guys. Oh, man. This looks like a cool game. Let me try install our third-party launcher, install our third-party launcher, install our third-party launcher. Yep. I'm going to be honest, guys. Epic Games, EA Play, Ubisoft, Battle.net.
Okay, fuck it. I give up.
Epic Games. The Epic Games Store is the same
Can't
thing.
find what I was looking
Let's
for.
see,
Sorry
get some
about
other
that.
ones. Rockstar. I don't play those. Origin. There, I forgot about that one. The Riot Launcher. Good one. GOG. Xbox Launcher. Xbox Marketplace Launcher. Yes. Ooh. I just want it on Steam, man. You know what Steam feels like to me? I remember there was a meme where it was a Mario Party minigame, and it was like all 4 players are on like an ice, like a piece of ice, and they have to knock each other off, and 3 players knock each other off, and then they're all falling off and, you know, like running around trying to survive, and then there's one guy that just stands still and does nothing, and he still wins. And I just think that's pretty relevant right now. I do. I think it's pretty relevant. Luigi, yes, I know.
But, alright. I gotta take care of some shit. I'm sorry. Shit's coming up. I'll be back, y'all. Appreciate everybody hanging out.